Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. My name is James Rink. I'm the host of this show, and I'm also a super soldier. But today we're talking about Zoe. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, James. Thank you
Okay,
for having me on.
absolutely. And audience members, thank you for joining us as well. We have a really good turnout here today. Thank you. Oksana's here. Hi, Oksana. I'll be listening. Thank you, and thank you, Oksana, for all you do. We have somebody's here. Okay. Drip says she's working. Okay. We'll see you later. We have Christy's here. Hi, Christy. How are you doing today?
Hey,
And
Christy.
we have, um, let's see here, Michael Bishop. He says hi. And we
Hey.
have Sonia says, "Does super soldier mean transhuman?" It's one. It could mean that. Doesn't always mean that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, Zoe. Let me start off with this bio. Zoe is a SSP, Milab, and MI5 operative, super soldier, as well as an alien abductee and contactee experiencer from England. She identifies as a starseed and as well as gathering intelligence to assist in planetary ascension and the removal of negative forces. Since infancy, Zoe has had supernatural, paranormal, and extraterrestrial encounters. As a child, she displayed abilities such as mind control and telekinesis. Over the years, she has been repeatedly targeted, taken, and threatened, especially after speaking out about her experiences on her YouTube channel, Galactic Voyager, which is the link is in the description. Currently, she's working on a book detailing her experiences. She has multiple altars that are placed into clones for covert special ops and is utilized for remote viewing and as a astral operative or astral op spy. Through Galactic Voyager, she is not only sharing her own experiences, but provides a platform for others to tell their stories as well, helping to piece together the hidden truths of our world. All right. Thank you, Zoe, for that. Is there
Alright.
anything you want to add to your bio?
No, I
Or
think that's everything. You've
Delta,
covered.
Beta?
Part of the Delta program and the Beta, if I said it correctly, Beta program. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning. Now, some people in the chat are asking about your abilities. Maybe tell us a little bit about maybe some of the things that when you first realized you were different than other people.
Yeah. Okay. So it started off. Okay. So the first one was telepathy. Of course, at the time I didn't realize it was telepathy. So I didn't actually verbally speak until I was around the ages of, I think it was 7 or 8, perhaps. Yeah, around 7 or 8. And there is no, like, my mom took me to see specialists and things like that, and they just couldn't understand why I couldn't speak. They actually thought that I might have been deaf. Had my hearing checked, so everything was fine. I remember as a kid around that age feeling very frustrated because even though I couldn't physically speak, I was always speaking in my mind, speaking to people around me, like my mom and friends, and I was always frustrated. I couldn't understand why they couldn't hear me. So they assumed, my family assumed, because I couldn't speak, that also meant that I was, not very bright. I guess they thought because I wasn't able to learn, but actually quite the opposite. I was very consciously aware. I could speak perfect English in my mind. I self-taught myself to read. I didn't do well in school, and it was just I couldn't pay attention for number one, and number two, the environment just didn't seem. It just felt very alien to me. It just wasn't what I was used to. And so yeah, I was very frustrated for a long time. Then of course eventually I was able to speak, and that was myself. I taught myself how to speak verbally again, because through the reading, I loved reading. I remember flying through the words, like lines of words after another, even if I couldn't understand the words. I remember doing it every night, and eventually I was able to pick up on, what these words meant, and that's kind of how I grasped on. and figured out how to, you know, understand and then actually verbalize these words. So my other abilities was, so whenever I had, okay, so how it started off was I would have thoughts and feelings and impressions that I assumed were my own. And then I would speak about them. And then almost instantly, people around me, especially those closest to me, would be like, oh, that's so funny. I was just thinking that, you know, I was just saying that. And of course, this happens. But when it happens a lot, and then you start getting people and family looking at you in a peculiar way, especially if, you know, if I said something kind of, you know, something a bit more, for instance, you know, I'd have an idea and I'd say something and my mum would look at me, she'd be like, was you earwigging on a conversation that I had with my friend? I'd be like, no, how do you know this information? I'd be like, I just know, you know, things like that. And so let's just give you an idea of what it was. And then with the mind control, even now when I say it, it sounds crazy. My ego has a hard time to, you know, accept, you know, some of these things. So the mind control, that I noticed that more when I was in my teenage years. So again, if I wanted to do something, you know, it would start off with an idea in my mind, and then I'd be around a group of friends, and then they'd be like, oh, I've just had this idea. We should perhaps go bowling or do this and do that. You know, again, at the very early beginning stages, you just think, oh, what a coincidence. And they're like, oh, that's so funny. I was just thinking that. So it just kind of happened and unfolded, you know, in that way, really, for me. And then, but again, when it started happening more and more, then I remember one day sitting at my kitchen table thinking, this is more than a coincidence. And I'm going to play around with it. I'm going to test it. So what I would do is again, I would be sat with my sister and I would play out almost like, you know, call it imagination, call it what you want. I'd play out with images and like a video in my mind of what it is we were going to do that night. And then, you know, my sister would be like, all of a sudden, oh, I want to, you know, go to this place. I want to do that. And, you know, so I did that more and more and more. So again, as much as I hate to, you know, admit it, you know, I started manipulating people's thoughts by projecting my thoughts and feelings and ideas and things that I wanted to do, even if it went against their best interests and against, you know, their ideas that they didn't want to do. And of course, I don't do any of that now, but this is kind of how I discovered that I had this ability. So another ability I had was with my energy. So when I was younger, my whenever I walked under a light bulb, it would either flicker, and on a few occasions it would just smash. It would just shatter over my head. Again, you know, think, oh, that's funny. You don't think anything strange. So even as a child, I was always very, at the beginning, very, you know, realistic, very, you know, trying to just, I didn't think anything. I didn't realize it was my energy at the beginning. And then, you know, it would happen more and more and more. You know, I walk under the lamppost. You know, they're all fine, all working, and then you walk under one, and all of a sudden it starts flickering and going crazy and it goes off. In fact, I've got a lamppost outside my home, because over the years my abilities kind of went a bit weak or dormant for whatever reason, but they seem to be more heightened around extraterrestrial or alien encounters, or when I've been taken, that's when I find I'm more active, more high vibrational, I guess. I'm able to tap into my abilities. So things with the lights, and then I remember, I don't know how, it was so natural. I think I was around the ages of like 11, 12, and I was going through a lot of trauma at home, a lot of abuse. So, you know, I understood, not then, but I understand now, that there was a lot of heightened emotions. And that was when, again, I was more able to manipulate things, people's minds, energies, objects, just energy in general. So I was going through a very hard time around that age. And I remember my mom went to open the microwave, and I said to her, I said, I can't remember what was it that I said, something on the lines of, that was it, yeah, that's going to blow up in a minute. And she just looked at me, and I remember she touched it, she got a shock, and then it just blew up. Other times would be she'd be hoovering, and I'd be like, so again, this was me manipulating. Again, she'd be hoovering, and I'd be like, that's going to break. And and that happened a lot. My mum went through a lot of hoovers, to the point where we had to say it. She'd be like, Zoe, don't you dare. So this was a normal occurrence thing that happened in my family. Well, with me at least, anyway. My mum always looked at me peculiar. I remember her boyfriends would be like, how does she do that? And my mum would just be like, I don't know. So yeah, things like that. And then the first time I moved an object was I was around the ages of 13. I was in a relationship with my boyfriend, and we got in a real heated argument. Again, it's around when there's tension, when the energy is amplified. And in the heat of the argument, my partner had an army knife, like a flip knife, on the wall behind his head. And in the heat of that moment, the knife flew off the shaft and smacked him on the back of the head. And we never saw each other again after that. I just remember him looking at me, and I just knew, even though I couldn't explain it, I knew in that moment that somehow my energy had done that. Other abilities such as super quick reflex, which now I understand now because I'm part of these groups. I'm an assassin, and I'm part of these programs. And so, I often have experiences where quick reflex, drawing the gun, aiming to shoot people and stuff like that. So there were telltale signs. There were signs and symptoms, if you like, going way, way back as a child. And it all makes sense why they took me. I mean, my mum has memories of me being a newborn baby, and she's seeing men in black in my room coming through a portal, and I'm a newborn baby. Another incident, my mum woke up again. I was a newborn baby, and she saw a tall, hooded, cloaked figure leaning over my cot, my crib. And then when I told my mum I had the same experience with my daughter when she was a child. I told my mum the next morning, and that's when my mum told me of the same experience she experienced with me around the same age as my daughter. So you kind of start to look at your life a little bit, don't you? And you think, this isn't normal. I remember as a child, always felt like I didn't fit in. I was severely bullied. Not because I was, out there. I was a bit of both. I started off being very quiet and introverted. I was that kid that sit on the bus on their own and just daydream out the window and have a whole reality play out in my mind. I was quite happy and content like that. But then as I got to a certain age, I started to, well, first of all, I thought everyone had the same abilities as me. I just want to say, I assumed. So when I started talking about my abilities or beliefs, of course, people around me would look at me and think, oh, wow, what an imagination you have. Or, my mum would be like, oh, she'll speak about me to friends. I'm very eccentric, very, out there, a polite way of saying basically I'm absolutely not. Even though my mum obviously saw a lot of activity around me. So, yeah, I struggled to fit in. As a kid growing up, I was the oldest of 6 siblings, and I was completely different. I got bullied from my own family, my own siblings. Why does Zoe speak the way she does? Why does she act the way she does? Why does she look the way she does? Things like that. And then I went on my own, I guess, my own personal spy mission, if you like. I actually believed that I was adopted. I didn't believe that these people were my family. I felt so different. Even today, I mean, I don't speak to my family, but even to this day, as horrible as it sounds, my mom is nothing more than just a vessel that I use to come down in. There's no emotional connection. There's no love. And I'm a very loving, compassionate person, but I just struggle to connect with anyone. But anyway, when I was, I think I was around ages 9, one day I had this, it was like this energy. I don't know if it was from outside of me or it was me, but I knew I had to find some important information in the house. Something really, I didn't know what, I just knew something really important. And I remember the first room I went into was my mum's bedroom, and the first place I looked was my mum's bedside drawer. Again, I had no idea what I was looking for. So I'm rummaging through my mum's drawer, and I come across a cassette tape, and I remember holding it, and I knew there was something on there that I needed to listen to. So then I snuck into my room, put it in the cassette player, listened to it, and basically, long story short, it's a recording of a psychic reading my mum had. And the psychic on the reading said, "Oh, you have 6 children." And my mum's laughing. She's like, "Yes," because especially at that time, it was frowned upon to have that many children. And she says, "Oh," she says, "they're all," she said, "Yes, you have 6 children, but the oldest one is different." And I remember her saying that. And then my mum basically paused, and then she went, "Yes," she says, "my oldest one has a different dad to the other 5 children." So, and then I remember on my 13th birthday, my mum actually called me downstairs, and she says, "Zoe, we've got me and your dad. I've got something to tell you." I already knew, and this was some years later. I already knew. I says, "Yes, I know he's not my real dad. Can I go out and play now?" And she just looked at my dad as if to say, and my dad was just like, how does she know that? And again, it was just that, I don't know. And I went out and to play. So this was like 8, 9 years old. I was always very, as my mum would call it, I was always hovering in the background. If my mum had got anyone in the house, I was that kid that was on the stairs, listening, observing. I just naturally had that within me. I didn't know what I was listening to or observing. I just was a very curious child. Normal 8 or 9-year-olds, they're playing in their room, they're reading books, they're watching cartoons. I mean, I did all that, but there was that part of me that was very strong within me, and I guess that makes sense now. It's kind of ingrained in me, or it's kind of bled through into my personal life, because that's what I do in some of my missions. Again, they've been taking me since I was a child. I guess perhaps I already had those abilities, perhaps they enhanced them, perhaps they knew who I was and like, "Oh, okay, we can utilize this one, we've got another one, we'll shove her in these groups." I think really, they've done all sorts. But yeah, so that's kind of how it was growing up. And then again, going into school, all throughout my school years, I got severely bullied, even by my own teacher, my own maths teacher. And I remember on this one particular day, I was in class and I wasn't very bright at maths, I still aren't. And he basically embarrassed me in front of the whole classroom. And I remember he came up and he leant down on the opposite side of the table. So he was crouching on the floor, and he'd kind of got, his arms like this on the desk. And he looked at me and he says, "I want you to stand up, Zoe, and I want you to answer this question." And I just remember in that moment, this energy came within me, this huge energy. It was the only way to explain it. It was like I was just a bull. I saw red. And I remember this energy came up. I think how old was I at this time? I think I was 14, around 14, yeah. And I just remember standing up super quick, and I flicked the table with my fingers, like forcefully flicked the table. The table went flying, flicked, smacked my teacher. He went flying on the floor, and the table landed on him. And basically, I'd broken his arm. And I never got excluded from school, and I never got chucked out of school. And if that was any other kid, they would have done. Is because the head teacher was a reptilian, or he was a reptilian human hybrid, and I caught him doing some suspicious things, and I think he knew who I was. So many of us, obviously you're aware, James, many of us in our own family, in our school systems, in our doctors, we have handlers. And I believe, or I wouldn't say he was necessarily my personal handler, perhaps there might have been other children in that school, but that's kind of the sense, not at the time, of course, but that's kind of what I feel. He was a handler, and I think he knew who I was, or at least, or he was scared that I was going to say some things, therefore he didn't kick me out of school. And so yeah, a lot of bullying throughout school, and but I never got bullied after that, so that was one positive thing. So yeah, just not being able to fit in. I still don't function in this reality very well. The only people that understand me are people like yourself, James, and friends that are starseeds, and you know. And I've noticed as well. I bet you've probably noticed that a lot of friends who I have in my personal life are actually in these programs as well, and we're doing missions together, which is interesting. Apparently, that happens a lot. So yeah. So that's just basically what it was like growing up, and some examples of my abilities. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Zoe, for answering that question. So let's go back to the beginning here. Now, you said you could not talk for a certain point. What age were you able to start speaking again?
So it was around. I reckon it was around. See, some of my memory is a little bit blurred, but I remember it was roughly around perhaps 8 years old, around that age. I think. Yeah, it's maybe 7 or 8, around that age. Yeah.
Okay. Were you on the Asperger spectrum? If you don't want to answer that, I understand.
My mom, she never. The only places she took me was to see a speech therapist. From memory, from what she's told me, I don't have any memories of her taking me to see any other specialists to see if I've got, Asperger's or any kind of autism, or anything like that. Yeah, no, nothing like that. She kind of just left me with it, really. And I did struggle in school as well. Technically, I should have been in what we call it over here is the bottom set. So in the groups that don't do so well, we get extra, care and attention, if you like, to help us understand things. I mean, I was in some bottom classes, but I just struggled. But I believe a lot of it was because I have like ADHD as well. So there's that, in the mix. So yeah.
Interesting. Did you ever get tested and you were like they would play these tones and you were trying to see it? Yeah. You remember
Yeah.
that test?
I not strong, but I vaguely remember that. Yeah. Being pulled out of class because I'm getting it. So where I struggle with the memories because no, I haven't had an actual hearing test, like as in a proper hearing test, not we're having a hearing test, but really it's not. Not that I remember. I mean, I must have done it at some point, but within the school, yeah, I do remember being pulled out. And I just have this memory of clicking and tones and them saying something on the lines of, put your hand up if you hear this, or if it's this here or that is something like that. I do not strong, but I do have a very faint memory of that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Zoe. So I hated school. The kids would pick on me, and I when I was 13, I lost the ability to speak. So it wasn't until
Oh, wow.
my late 20s before I could start speaking again. But I totally understand. Yeah, I resonate with that, and it sucks. I don't know what is the issue with the human children on this planet have to be so cruel to each other. I just don't understand it. But okay,
Mm.
all right, let's go on. Next question. Let's see here. Were your parents in the programs?
Um, I believe my mum might be. I believe my stepdad, he was in the military. Well, he used to be in the military. He came out and then he met my mum, and I definitely believe he was a handler. All my mum's relationships were handlers, and every single one of them were very abusive. They caused abuse not only to my mum but to his children. So it was sexual, physical, psychological was a big one. And so that played a big role not only in my family, but it happened to my mum when she was a kid and her mum. And just goes way, way back. And there's military as well. There's people in the family that was in the military, as I mentioned, my stepdad, my granddad. And I was in World War II as well, because that was one of my strongest past life memories. I was a World War II soldier, and I've just realised not too long ago that I was in the programs even then. Makes sense, you know. So my mum had her own abilities as well. Her strongest one was remote viewing. She'd often, I wouldn't say often, but there were a couple of occasions where, she would be visiting me and my partner at the time, some years ago. She'd be like, "So, what was you and so doing then last night?" And I'd be like, "Nothing." She's like, "Are you sure about that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then me and my partner look at each other, and then she will go on to explain everything like she saw. And then I'd be like, "Oh." She never really spoke too much about her abilities. I just know she was always obsessed with sci-fi, extraterrestrial. She had her own extraterrestrial encounter. Again, a lot of supernatural, paranormal experiences around her. Again, also going in the family. It dates way back. It's always been around us. And yeah, and my mum's got, obviously she's got her own sixth senses, as most of us have to some degree. So I guess she wasn't too surprised, but she was surprised at the same time, I guess, to the extent of my abilities. So yeah, it kind of is somewhere, it is in the family. Sorry, I forgot your question, James. I hope I didn't
That's all
branch
good.
out.
So, my next question was like bloodline. So, is your, yeah. So, was there a lot of abilities within that bloodline? It sounds like it's on your mother's side, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely my mum's side. Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah, again, as I just mentioned, a lot of those supernatural, extraterrestrial experiences and stuff, and yeah.
All right, next question. Okay, so could you tell us, maybe give us some more examples of any kind of telekinesis that you displayed? So, I mean, you mentioned earlier you could light bulbs would explode or flicker. Uh,
Mm.
were you able to actually physically move anything or phase through anything?
So not like what you see in the movies, when they're like, like Stranger Things, not very similar to that. Not because of my personal experiences, but I mean there was not any of that hand stuff, which I know a lot of people use. Which of course that's one thing to do it. So yeah, it'd just be like in the heat of the moment, in if my if I got angry and stuff like that, things would just go flying. What you could probably consider poltergeist activity, but it was always when I was in a heightened state of emotion or something like that. Again, something would just fly off the drawers, or the biggest one is the lights. It's always mostly the lights, especially now. I mean, I don't move anything now. I guess that ability is dormant or been switched off for protection. I really don't know. I had this conversation with one of my friends. I just remember being able to kind of control these abilities and use them at will, at times, and then just over the years, it just is dormant. However, my alters use these abilities. But me, not so much. It's more now, like I say, if I'm upset, if I'm in a heightened state of energy, or even if I'm excited, it will be my computer will freeze on me. I'll have internet issues. Of course, that happens anyway for many other reasons. But lights just going crazy over my head, or phasing in, phasing out. And like I say, now at the minute it's my street light. I've been in this house for 11 years, and in the last few months they're going crazy. um you know just whenever I'm in that heightened sense of emotion, or as I figured out, whenever there's a ship above. So if I get that, I kind of know that I'm, going to be taken upstairs, if you like, on one of the ships, or I've just come back from the ships, and then this activity is kind of happening around me. But yeah, it was, like I say, just different things like that. But it was, I don't know what you call it, but we're going back to when I was a kid, just sometimes I was like, is it what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was I, foresighting it? Was I perceiving the microwave was going to do that, or did I make that microwave do it? Same with the Hoover. So there've been times where, I'm like, oh, which way round is it? So sometimes it's difficult, with what type of ability is causing, these things to happen.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Zoe. All right, so it sounds like your abilities are activated through trauma, is what
Mm,
basically what you
mm.
described, and that's the case for me. One time I was watching Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, where the guy grabbed a hammer and hit the other guy's hand, and I immediately stood up and screamed, and this plate telekinetically blew off fell off the
Oh,
table.
wow.
So yeah, so just try not to. We gotta stay calm. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay,
Mm.
all right. So let's go to. You said you think you feel like your parents not related. So are you aware of Project Surrogate? You know what that
No,
is?
no, no. I know what surrogate means, but project surrogate, no, actually, that's a new one. Mm.
Okay, so basically, you would take a batch of super soldier clone embryos, and then you would breed them out through a variety of generations to pull out the best of each batch. Typically, there'll be about 700 embryos in each batch, and that's the case with the ultra soldiers anyway. So eventually, it gets to the point where these embryos need to be raised. So uh, at first, these embryos were brought into an underground base and placed under lock and key and traumatized, tortured, and they found out that they all went mentally insane. So then they found if they could insert them with a family that would love them, or at least raise them just enough to kind of keep the trauma from making them go insane, then they could become a great asset. So on a Project Surrogate, they put you into a family that raises you as their own, and you may not even be related to them. But and that's
Um,
the case for me.
yeah, when I've never heard of this before, but I don't know if you get this, but I get confirmation chills. So when you were just explaining that, my whole body, head to toe, got them confirmation chills. To me, that's like my higher self, or if you like, saying, yeah, I think you're absolutely. I think that might be my case. Yeah,
And I'm
I just.
trying to get some more information on Project Name Recovery. So my particular file shows that my clone body died, and then they made a new clone and put it with my mother. So I'm actually a
Mm,
clone of the other one, James Martin Reelsberg. And but anyway,
wow.
so I want
Um,
to give a shout out to Peter
yeah.
Insider for
I
that.
mean, that makes sense. I mean, like I say, I'm a very loving, open, heart-centered, compassionate, caring person, and I just, as much as I really try, and I tried to get on my mum's good side. I tried to. I mean, my mum wasn't a very open, loving person because of their bloodline. They're very no maternal skills, if that's the right word. They're not very loving. Very cold. If you cry, I'll give you something to cry about. There was never cuddles and things like that. And maybe because I'm very, I'm very much the opposite. And I didn't get that, that love. Perhaps it was that, but it feels deeper than that. I just can't connect with them. I connect more with friends, my own daughter, than I do with anyone in my family. They just feel like complete strangers. I've had to fake it a lot of the years, and even still, we had some moments, but even then, it was more masking. It was just that connection, that bond you're supposed to have. Even those that are being brought up in abusive family, have Stockholm syndrome or something. They have some kind of emotional connection. I don't. I have. There's no emotion. I mean, and as awful as this sounds, James, if she wasn't here tomorrow, it wouldn't affect me. Just to kind of help you understand the level of disconnect. There's just no connection. I always longed to go to the stars as a child. I didn't know what to. I just felt more connected to the sky and the stars often at night. I would cry whilst looking up at the stars. I felt more connected to space than I did my family. And I didn't know about, we didn't hear at that age, it wasn't like I knew about extraterrestrials. I knew that we weren't alone. I knew that much. I knew there was more out there, but I felt more connected to whatever at that time, upstairs or in the sky than I did with my family. And, so because of that, obviously, you must know this is very self-sharing. It's very lonely, isn't it? It's very lonely.
Yeah, I understand. When my mom died, I couldn't even get up and say anything. I just sat there. I didn't want to say anything. But all right. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Tell us the definition of a handler in your own words. And maybe give us an example in your life.
Yeah. So a handler, from my understanding, is someone, again, that's been, in a sense, they are kind of a victim a lot of the time, taken, put in programs, and their jobs are to basically, and they can be in any faction of society, they can be in normal families, they can be in Hollywood, they can be in governments, they're just kind of sprinkled everywhere. And basically, their mission is to kind of purposely orchestrated in a way, to be with certain people, basically just to monitor them, control them, sometimes keep them in fear so they're not able to remember or step into their power. And they often go back, and give intel and information. And they play the role as, let's just say, for in a relationship setup, usually in the beginning, they love bomb you. They're the best thing since a slice of bread. They say and do the right thing. Sometimes you're like, whoa, wow, this can't be real. This is amazing. And then within months or perhaps a year, it's almost like the masks start dropping, and then you get that narcissistic, controlling, manipulative, where are you going? They don't want you to work. They don't want you to have friends. They're not happy or excited whenever you share your achievements and things. Whenever you start stepping into your power, that's when it becomes an issue. As long as you are under their thumb, everything's hunky-dory. Going back with handlers as well can be used to keep that trauma, again, for the same reason. I was abused a lot, and I believe, and this isn't anything I've read, this isn't anything I've watched. I didn't know the word handler at that time. That came much later, but when I realised and connected the dots, but yeah, with the abuse and that, again, it's to keep you in a certain frequency. It's to prevent you from stepping into your power, remembering who you are, what you are, why you're here. And as well, it's to do with the altars as well. I don't know how to explain it, but obviously abuse, trauma, it fractures the mind, compartmentalizes, fractures the mind, which they need that for obviously to create these altars, which they use for these programs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of my understanding and belief on what a handler is. I believe they've been in my family going way, way back again. It's if it's not the men in my family that have been abusive to their female partners, it's the females in my family that, again, are being in relationships or having friendships of those that are very, very narcissistic, controlling, abusive, and all that stuff I just mentioned, and very, very dark as well and sinister. Especially one of my stepdads, he did obviously the sexual, the emotional, physical, and he was the worst one because he did the psychological trauma. He was very good at getting in the mind. As I found out, he's actually a reptilian hybrid, human hybrid. He had a huge amount of reptilian in him. And he was very dark. His energy was very dark. He was into heavy rock metal. I'm not saying if you're into heavy rock metal, it means you're dark. Of course, I'm just saying for my stepdad, he wrote songs. A lot of it was like devils and, very satanic, things of that nature and stuff. And it's mad to think, he went to prison for what he did. He tried to kill my mom. He tried to kill my sister. He did some horrendous things. And my mom, still to this day, feels that he's the love of her life. So that should just really, you know, and she knew what he did. So yeah, very, very dark. So yes, that's what I believe a handler is. I'm sure there's more to that, but just on the on the surface. I mean, does that sound like a handler or?
Sounds like a definition of a true narcissist. So, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
when they're constantly gaslighting you. They're making you feel like it's your fault when it's not your
yeah,
fault. But the thing is, if you're a young child and your mental capacities are not mature enough, then
mm,
it can really get into your ego states, and
mm,
it keeps you in a state of trauma, and it takes
yeah,
years to get out of that. So, and some people don't. They don't get
mm.
out of it. But
Yeah, I
okay.
had another experience. So my mum's ex-partner, who used to be in the military, and then she got with someone else who also used to be in the military. And I had an experience some months back, actually. I went to sleep, and then all of a sudden, I was elsewhere, and I was in this very huge building. And I was surprised to see actually my stepdad there, who my mum's currently with now. And I was like, "Why are you here?" And I remember me asking him questions, and he actually said, "He's I don't know why he told me this, but he actually said to me, he says, I'm in your family, I'm with your mom, so I can keep tabs on you." He didn't use those words tabs, but basically, I'm with your mom to keep an eye on you, Zoe. That's my job. That's where I've been assigned to watch and monitor you. Um, so that was very strange because in our personal lives, I wouldn't say we were particularly close. It was very dark. He was different from the others, actually. He wasn't abusive. He was actually quite more laid back, to be honest. But he did have some tendencies, as it turns out, towards young people, let's just say. And there were moments where he would say things in front of me and my mum, which was very weird, which I won't repeat. And I was actually worried because he was very close to my daughter at the time. Don't worry, nothing like that ever happened. But apparently he did some things with his own children, but he never was like that with me. There was a couple of instances where he was like that with. He did some things around some of my siblings. Um, but yeah, it almost the way he was with me, it was almost like he had to keep me in his good, like keep me in his on his good side or something. It's like he had to pay extra. I don't know. It's like he could see something in me, and he had to really make more of an impression. I had to like him and stuff like that. It was very strange. But yeah, in that experience, I remember him saying, basically, yeah, I'm with your mom, but it was, basically being placed there to keep an eye on you, in however way that may look. I don't know because I'm not, physically speaking to him. So yeah, that was very interesting. So.
Thank you. Well, let's go on here. So tell us about your self-awakening experience. Now, when did you realize that you were involved in these projects? Like all the
Mm,
dots came together. It was that
yeah.
wow movement.
Yeah, so I've always been a lucid dreamer ever since I was a child. And of course, at the beginning stages, it's just dreams, it's imagination, it's dreams. You don't really, you wake up and you get on with your day, you don't really question it. But then they started to become a pattern, a theme. And so a lot of my experiences are, I've been taken, and it's always been taken to like underground military bases, on planet, off planet, and there was always military personnel with reptilians or reptilian human hybrids by their sides. And the first time it happened again, I was just like, oh, that was strange. But then it happened a lot, and then a lot more, and then a lot more. And then the other theme was there was always contracts, always wanting to get me to sign contracts. Another thing, they would be scanning my body with some kind of like a scanner, I guess. And I realised they were obviously seeing if there was any implants or anything like that on me. And so then, yeah, of course, you start to question things. I didn't know the names. I just want to mention as well that I remember seeing these beings shapeshifting. I didn't know they were reptilians. In fact, my earliest memory, and this happened in the physical, I actually, in my 20s, I was in my room at night. I was a young mum at the time. 2 children were asleep, and I was single. I was on my own. I remember I was in bed, and all of a sudden, this man appeared at the end of my bed. And he basically, again, I didn't have words for it, but he did something because I wasn't able to control my mind. And then I was feeling a certain kind of way, if you get my gist. I'm not going to go into details or give specific words. And then he kind of, he walked towards me, climbed on top of me. I was kind of almost like in some kind of paralysis type thing. I couldn't move. I couldn't control how I was feeling. I just remember my eyes were just like completely aware. I was completely aware of everything that was going on. And after he did what he'd done, he got up, he walked back, and as he was walking back, his shape shifted into this tall, green, obviously reptilian. This was me in my 20s. I mean, I'm 38 now. I had no idea, So can you imagine years later, and then I start having these memories of them, these shapeshifters being with these military personnel, again, taking me underground military bases, whether to interrogate me, to threaten me, get me to sign contracts, all these things I've experienced. And I remember I was reading something and this person having her own experiences, and then I saw the word reptilian and my whole body, just the chills went over me, and I was like, you, excuse my French, you bastard, that's exactly what you were. You was a reptilian, clear, just it's obviously very clear. There's been reptilian entities that have attached to people in my family, especially those that there's a lot of paedophilia, unfortunately, in my family on the men's side, and a lot of them are because they've got because of the bloodline and because they've got these entity attachments as well. We're kind of going off a bit, but so again, there was that theme. Even to this day, it's always military. They either put me in virtual realities or simulation tests. There's a lot of tests. And then I have a lot of memories. I had one not too long ago where they mind blank me, or they kind of try and erase my memory. And that is basically, and for me, they put me in a chair. They strap my ankles and wrists. And this one particular time, there were 3 Nordics in front of me, and I was freaking out and panicking, and they actually looked at me and they said, this will be done and this will be over and done with. It's quickly, it's very soon. And then they said, the protocol. And before they said that, I got the sense they've done this hundreds of times, so many times, because the fear that I had in that experience, which still it affects me now, since that last time they drugged me and messed with my mind, I now have severe anxiety. I've had bouts of anxiety all throughout my life that's come and gone, and I've realised now that it's usually when they've taken me or when I've come back from whatever they've been doing, and then all of a sudden I have OCD, or I have an eating disorder, or I have anxiety just out the blue, and there's no reason for that to just not be there and all of a sudden be there, and then one day you wake up, it's gone. It's just like, I've made that connection as well. So and again, with going back to the experiences, so a lot of them are, as well as they'll take me, and this is one where I'm kind of like I'm like a teenager, and I was picked up by military, and I was with these group of, I'm assuming, of a Starseed children or children with abilities, and we were kind of ordered to get on this military type bus thing. And as I've just found out, there's a military base literally 10 minutes down the road from me. I had no idea. So that's interesting. Anyway, on this bus, they're taking us to, it's like we're going down a hill. It's very dark, jet black, like dark, you can't see nothing, and then it's like something opens up, and then we go through, and then it's just like light. There's just this tunnel and there's light, and then we're obviously underground. And on this one particular occasion, they got me and these other kids out of the bus, and they took us to a different area, and they basically told us to wear this kind of, the only way to explain it is like very sci-fi uniform, like I think it was like grey or silver in colour. And then they'll give us these weapons. Again, they look like something like out of Star Wars, these laser beam weapons. And then they'd put us in another area and basically shove us in this area. And I just remember, all of a sudden in front of us, there were like these robotic type beings, spider looking beings. Some of these robotics looked like dogs, and they come charging at us. And we're just like, what the heck? And then, of course, we start shooting. A lot of the children were running because I had no idea. They just was shocked, I guess. I was. And then, the ones that weren't running, we kind of just remember, like, walking back while shooting, whatever was coming at us. And I vaguely remember there being some kind of like greys, like very small greys. They came out as well, and a lot of the children actually died. I don't know if they regenerated them, probably they did. But in that experience, a lot of them died. A lot of them freaked out, running, hiding. And I remember I was just shooting, and then towards the end of that experience, I remember hiding behind this wall, and then that's all I remember of that experience. But it's interesting as well. I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, James, but I have astral spiders, call them AI astral spiders, in my house, in my room. And I've often seen them wake up and they're in my face, or they're near me, or they accumulate in the corner. There can be loads of them. And so, yeah, I started noticing them some years ago, and my daughter's also seen them as well. So, yeah, I kind of did a bit of a deep dive into that as well. So, my understanding on that is they are, I guess, under the control of the CIA or something, and it's just their way of spying on us, getting information, and they can manipulate your dreams as well, as my understanding. So if I wake up from a crazy dream, I can guarantee there'll be one of those things staring at me. And oftentimes when you see them, they scurry off. It's like they don't want you to see them, they scurry off, or they just disappear. So I don't know if you've had any experiences like that yourself.
I've seen orbs at the corner of my eye. So
Mm,
now they did put spider DNA into some of my clone bodies. Uh,
mm,
they also put this nanite goo paste. So if you try to tune in to that other aspect of yourself, it's like it's all just brainwashing. You can't even talk to them. So yeah.
mm,
So that
mm.
does sound like an archon, though, Zoe.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, I also find it amazing that you remember the trip seat protocol, because typically that's one of the things that most of us don't remember, is when they erased our memories. So I think that's
Mm,
amazing. Um,
mm.
and uh, do you remember any more about the process, like what how long it took, or did they have to torture you? Yeah,
When they put me in the chair, yeah.
yeah.
So all I remember is I went to sleep one night, and all of a sudden I was in this chair, and I was freaking out, first of all, because I guess there was that memory imprint or something that I just freaked. I was freaking out. A very dark room. There was just this one light above this chair. This chair was a thick, solid. The only way to explain it, looked like one of those very old-fashioned dental chairs. It was made of like steel and wood, very old looking. And again, with the leather straps on my wrists and ankle. There were three Nordics in front of me. Now, I know obviously not all Nordics are positive. There's many negative, just like humans. They almost looked like triplets. They looked identical, but I could see like a bit of grey in them. They were like a Nordic grey mix. Long blonde hair, very thin, typical grey hybrid size face shape, and the eyes, big blue eyes. And they spoke to me through telepathy. I felt a presence behind me, but I couldn't turn for whatever reason. I think at the seat, if I remember, there were like two bits of there were like sides to the head bit kind of here, so I couldn't, really see. I just sensed that there was someone behind me, and I remember hearing footsteps, and I was freaking out. And then I kind of look in, and I could see out of my peripheral that there was this huge, again, very old type needle, syringe, if you like. It was made of glass and metal. and I felt the coldness go into my arm. And then they injected me with this substance, and then all of a sudden, that was when I was freaking out, because I have a fear of not necessarily needles, but I won't have anything injected into me in my personal life. Nothing. I don't care if I'm dying. I will not have any pharmaceutical drug. Even before I understood, what really is the true meaning behind this pharmaceutical business, I always had a fear of not wanting anything unnatural in my body. Perhaps it stems from that as well. So anyway, I felt this rush inside my body, instant, like super quick. And I was already hyperventilating anyway, but the moment I felt that, I went into a full-blown panic attack. I was freaking out. And that's when they said, look, be over and done with, don't fight it, the protocol. And then all of a sudden I felt very lightheaded, and then it was just black. My mind just went black. And then after that experience, when I woke up for 3 days, my body, is the only way to explain it, I felt drugged. I felt dopey. I felt drugged. I felt heavy. I don't drink alcohol. I don't take drugs. I don't take medication. I don't even smoke marijuana. I don't do any of that. Years ago, yes, but I haven't done that. There was no reason for me to be feeling that way. Like I say, 3 days, I was in bed for 3 days, James, because of how I felt, because of the effects of that. And after that, I was having difficulty getting into some of my memories, which was annoying, because I was due to do a video with someone, and I was sitting there going through my memories, and I was just having a difficult time trying to access these memories. Even with you, before coming on now, I'm sitting there and I was having trouble accessing memories. That's why I had to write them down. They're on my channel anyway, but this is what happens, So yeah, and they've drugged me before. They've taken me.
Now that's also a sign that you return back from a 20 and back, when you go through a period of 3 days where you have no energy and
Yeah,
you're just exhausted. You can't do anything. And I also noticed you're like extremely hungry. You may have just had dinner. Next thing you know, you feel like you haven't eaten in days.
yeah.
And then you're really tired, and then you feel like you feel that drug feeling where you feel good, but then relaxed, but then it really just makes you tired and spaced out.
Yeah.
Do you
Wow, I
remember?
got the chills, absolute chills when you said that, Jane. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Here's some artwork I was was gonna put. Well, I had some of this in my book, but there's like cloning labs. What you saw earlier, this was Project Wallrider. So what they were doing is they were trying to create a egregor of super soldier beings. So all the consciousness of the super soldiers in stasis will become one entity, and it just like all sorts of crazy
Mm,
stuff started to happen. Yeah. The project took over, and it's where they took it was Mengele's like brother or cousin was involved in this, and then they just took this projects of Mengele to the 9th degree. You can imagine how crazy it could become. But let's see here. So here's
mm.
the Milab base. We have the clone tank. So it's like a large vat where they have all the different clones growing in like the sacks, and then from there, they would take the clone and put it on a table, similar to the movie In the Island. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
Yeah, I've watched that. Yeah, it's so weird because I feel it resonates. Things like those movies. I've always been drawn to those movies, and when I watch them, it's not like a movie. It's like there's aspects of that movie for some reason I know it's real. I know it's true. Yeah. But yeah, I do remember that movie exactly. Yeah.
So this is a Kruger facility on the moon. After the super soldier has been cloned, the
Can I just pause you 1 sec, James?
yes,
What's that symbol at the back? Is that a bird?
yeah, that's the German NAZI symbol.
Okay, because I've seen that. Yeah. Okay.
Because they would have these NAZI posters, with the font type that they use. It's like, oh,
Mm.
join the MDF or come
Yeah.
and all, like, it's being German, of course, right? So this
Mm.
facility, but so the Draco would come in, and if the Milab got some of their memories back, the Draco would come and mess with their memories and prevent them from memory. So they would, yeah. Anyway, Okay.
Wow. Okay, makes sense.
I don't know if there's any more here you want to see. So, fighting reptilians on Mars. You remember fighting reptilians on Mars? Do you remember being on Mars, Zoe?
I remember fighting them, but I couldn't say if they were on Mars or not. But apparently, I was on Mars. Just found this out recently. You know, when they had the war in Mars, you know, all those eons ago, I was one of the envoys there, if you like. I was one of the ones assisting the population off Mars, and apparently, I got blown up and absolutely obliterated. And then I lost parts of my soul. And apparently, I'm not only in mission on this
Mm-hmm.
life, I'm in 5 other parallel realities doing the same thing, and also in programs in those parallels. So it's crazy. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's discuss about any other technology that you remember. Anything you would like
Mm.
to share? How about
Um,
healing
yeah,
technology? Or go ahead.
I don't have great memory, to be honest, with technology as such. I remember it's more the things that they did to me. I don't remember, you know, being in these big rooms. I mean, I'm still having memories, of course. You know, yourself, we're still having memories coming through, aren't we? Um, I remember slightly, you know, not really anything to do with technology as such, but I remember, you know, being in a room and they hooked me up to this machine and they put like this rubber cap on my head, or it was either like a rubber cap or they were like these suction things on my head, and they were wires and it was connected to some kind of machine. And I was in this room and there was like a row of other kids, you know, teenagers, I guess, who were each taking our turn. I just remember seeing this uh glass window, and on the other side there was more machines, and there were people there, and they were obviously looking at something on the other side. And I don't know exactly what they were doing, what they were looking for, but I just remember them saying, you know, that was another thing as well. Like me and these kids, there was a lot of ego for some reason. It was like we didn't get on. It was like we were programmed to be the best, be better than them. We couldn't be friends. We had to be enemies. And oftentimes they'd put us together in scenarios, in situations where we had to fight them. So there's a lot of ego in that sense, and I just remembering that feeling like I can't fail. I have to be the best. I have to be the best. And they put me through this test thing, and I failed, and I was absolutely gutted. But then they gave me a second chance, and then I just flew through it. So I don't know exactly what they were doing there. So some kind of I don't know. I don't know what they were doing. I remember there were situations where they were training like on mind control. Obviously, they knew we got these mind control abilities, and again, we'd be in a row, and there'd be reptilians, and they would try and control our mind. And what we had to do was block that mind control and fight them. So I guess that makes sense with some of the missions. If I come in encounter with someone that's got mind control abilities, I kind of have to use my mind power, if you like, to fight them, to stop them from trying to, I guess, affect me or take me down. So, you know, we just kind of make these connections, really, if that is, you know, the reason for that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, technology
Jean
wise, I
Charles Moyen said that they had to train him so that he could resist psionic and
mm,
infiltration by the Draco when they was in fight.
wow,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. I remember being on the ship. I was taken not too long ago, actually, by the Galactic Federation. I can kind of explain what that kind of looked like if you want, but I don't know if you're interested
Yes.
in
Yeah.
that.
Well, let's learn.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of your missions. Go ahead.
Well, this one wasn't a mission. I will share some of them in a sec if you want. So, yeah, this was actually only like last month, and a couple of things were going on. Number one, I was under severe psychic energy weapon attack to the point where to the point where they wanted me to exit my body. I was so fearful. My nervous system was so just crazy. I've never been this scared in my life, James, but to be scared to be in your own body because you felt like your body was attacking you, it wasn't safe. That was the extreme lengths of the energy that they put on me. I felt like I was a rat in a cage and someone was heating up the bottom and I was trying to get out. That was kind of the feeling. I wanted to get out of my body, and it was actually really scary. Really bad. Anyway, so I put out an SOS to my team, the family, Galactic Federation, and I said, look, I need assistance. If you want me to still be here and do what I came here to do, you've got to help me, and you've got to help me properly, because I really am struggling. This is how bad it was. Anyway, a Palladian came into my room and she kind of recalibrated my energy. I believe she shifted something off me and she reset my vagus nerve, which kind of sorted out my anxiety and stuff. And then the night after that, or the night before, I can't remember which way around it was, they took me on the ship and it was huge. The ship was massive. And I just remember, that was it. So I was in bed and it was like a portal had opened up above me, and I looked up and I saw two beings peering down, and then all of a sudden I was up and I was on the ship, and then all of a sudden I was on a bed. And when I looked around the ship, there were like these beds were in a circle all on the outside of the ship all the way around, and then there was like a table and a tray with some like kind of reminded me a bit like being at the dentist, like a metal tray, and there was some things on there, a drip or something like that. That bit was a bit blurry. I just remember seeing these beds, and I remember sitting there, and of course, I felt cold. I remember looking down. I was like, "Oh crap! I've got no trousers on," because I only slept. Which is funny because I only went to bed that night wearing just a short t-shirt and my underwear. So again, when they take me, I look exactly how I did when I went to bed, And I remember like feeling embarrassed, cold, and I was like lifting my legs up, feeling really uncomfortable. And and then I just remember seeing these Palladians or hell beings, some kind of Nordic beings. They were there. There were so many. And they were just looking at me, and a little bit of amusement in their eyes, because there's me. And I got the sense that I knew them, like they knew me. And they said to me telepathically, "Don't worry, we're going to make sure you're going to be comfortable." And then I remember I changed. I was wearing something like a suit. And I remember when I was in, if you like, a changing room, it kind of looked a little bit like a changing room. As I was in there getting changed, this Palladian or Nordic woman came up to me, and she looked like she wanted to hug me. She was so excited to see me, and I'm just standing there trying to get this suit on, looking at her like, I don't know you. I don't have no memory. I don't know who you are. And I felt that sadness in her eyes. So I guess she knew me. Anyway, so go back into the main ship. In the center of the ship, it was almost like holographic technology. And there were like these tall, it looked like very thin glass screens. And they were in a circle. And there were these younger Palladians, I guess, they kind of looked like, a teenager. They were like the younger ones were in the middle, and they were like just touching these this technology and all these lights and things and that. The feeling that I got, the impression that I got was on this technology, they were able to see on Earth and pinpoint the areas and location of every envoy Starseed, was as well as other things they were kind of looking at. And this is their way of tracking us and stuff like that. And so, of course, I asked them, I says, well, why am I here? And I can't remember them saying, it was almost like they erased some of my memory as well. That was the impression I got. But anyway, they told me to get on the bed, and they took some of my DNA. They didn't tell me why, or at least they might have done, and they've erased my memory. I don't know, but they took some of my DNA. I didn't feel like, they were there to harm me or to trick me, or they generally felt I've got good intuition when it comes to energy, so these felt like very high vibrational positive beings. And I know that because when I'm with them I feel very giddy and childlike. I'm very hyper, and that's a kind of like, I know when I'm around good energy type thing. And so I don't know what they were doing with my DNA. But anyway, they took some samples, and then after that we were just kind of hanging around, and then we went into like the recreational area, if I said it correctly. And we were basically just sat there on this table, like a little booth, and we were sat there, and it seemed like I spent the whole day there with them. And we was having food and stuff, and I remember my food looked different to their food. I think I might have even had some look like meat at least, and I realised basically it was like, the 3D printing food. It was like, for me, it was like they printed the food out for me, and then they gave me this drink. It was like a little shot. I'm trying to remember the colour of it. And I remember putting it up to my nose, and I was a little bit unsure. I went, "Oh no, you're fine. It's fine. It's what we have after we have food. It'd be fine." And so we kind of, just drunk, had this drink, and I didn't really feel any effects of that. So I don't know what that was about. At least I don't remember. So yeah, and that was it. Then I came back, and then obviously I was in my room, and just trying to remember if there's anything else that I've missed. So I don't know. I've always had that feeling they take us up, at times to kind of, check our energy, I guess, check, everything's all right with us and stuff. Because obviously we have to be in some kind of, optimal shape, I guess, isn't it? Especially if we've got here to do missions and jobs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't really have too much memory with technology. I know I've been in rooms where it's there, but it's kind of like a blur. My memory's always, it's like focused on what they're putting me through, and the beings around me. I'm not really paying too much attention on the technology side of things, if that makes sense.
Wow. So how often does the Federation? How often do you think they take you for upgrades?
Usually, when I ask them, 9 times out of 10, they'll either come in the room or they'll take me. But do you know what, James? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't give you a number. I really don't know. I know they've taken me up quite a bit, but I couldn't really give you a number. I mean, they've been taking me for a long time, but like I say,
That sounds like maybe in another lifetime that you were on that ship, or maybe you are on that ship and this is your human avatar.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it was definitely in this timeline. Like I say, only because there's telltale signs. So, for instance, I'm looking exactly the same, or I'm wearing exactly the same as what, how I see myself on the ship or wherever they take me. That's how I can distinguish sometimes, if it's this now me current version of, taking me or not. Of course, I've had many experiences where they're on other timelines or parallel realities as well. So like some of the mission things you asked, some of the things I've done. So one of them is I was taken to Saturn. This was, I think it was a year ago now. And so all I remember from this experience was went to bed, and then all of a sudden I am on a planet. I didn't initially realise I was on a planet until moments later. So I just remember seeing.
Was it the actual planet Saturn, or was it one of the moons?
It was Saturn, and which you'll see what I mean as I tell you.
Go ahead and you finish it. I have something I want to share about that. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I was on Saturn, and I felt a presence at the side of me. So I turned to the right, and I see this very tall humanoid-looking being. I believe he was like one of the greys, the positive ones, the tall greys. He had got very friendly energy. They're not very talkers. They're not talkers much, though. That I've noticed with them. They obviously talk through telepathy, but they're not one for conversations as such. They're very vague. They're very, basic in that sense. Anyway, so I was surprised to see him, but not at the same time. I've seen many beings, but he basically looked up, which made me look up. And as I looked up, I saw 7 moons. And I thought, oh, wow. So then I wake up from that experience and then I just remember, when I woke up, I was like, oh, I just had the weirdest experience, but I couldn't remember. And I was like, I need to remember. I must remember. Anyway, I get up, I make a cup of tea, and then I was drawn to go outside into the garden with my cup of tea, and I was stood there. And I remember it was a lovely sunny morning, and it was almost like telepathically I was told to look up at the sun. So I looked at the sun, closed my eyes, and then within seconds, all of a sudden, that memory of that experience came through like thick and fast. And I was like, wow. I immediately went on to Google and I basically searched in Google a planet with 7 moons. Saturn popped up. That's how I realized it was Saturn. I was like, wow. So that just validated my experience because I don't know about, of course, I know about Saturn and Pluto and stuff like that, but I don't know, if they have moons or how many moons they have. I had no idea about any of this. So again, that was validation. Anyway, I spoke to my friend who's also a starseed. She's connected to upstairs and she speaks telepathically a lot to them, as well as her partner, who is not down here. Well, he is down here in the physical, but he's elsewhere. Anyway, she says, I'll go upstairs, and she says, and I'll see and find out what was going on. And I says, yeah, that would be great. Anyway, so she did that. And then the next morning, she says, Zoe, I saw you again. She says, you were there on Saturn. I went, wow. She says, yeah. I says, well, what did you see? First of all, she described what I was wearing. She said I was wearing, it looked like baggy, like the dungarees. It was almost like an oval type dungaree, thin material. And it was like a very pale, like khaki green colour. She said I was wearing that. And she said there was like a symbol, like a badge or a symbol on that as well. And she said she saw me basically with some Palladians or hell beings. And she said that I knew them. And we were kind of just meeting up and hugging up, hugging, like, saying how much I missed them. And she said, apparently I do that often. I go upstairs and I meet up with them and stuff like that. And then another experience was I was on Saturn, and then there was this huge biodome there. And there was a lot of workers there. There was a lot of people there, including Starseeds there. And we were kind of like not only clearing away some of the bad guys that were there, because of some nefarious things went down there. They cleared that, but then they were kind of like setting it up. And then I came into some more information. Apparently, we are setting Saturn up with his biodomes ready for the future of humans' arrival, is what I got told. So I don't know. Is it this life? Is it a parallel thing? I don't know. Is something going to go down in the future, which causes, the ships to come down and evacuate people? I don't know. Well, that's another experience I had as well, James. So an experience was I was woken up by vibration, and this was like, not in the physical sense. I went to bed, and then in this dream, if you like, I was still in bed, but I was awoken by a frequency. And I followed this frequency, and as I followed it, I was led to this field. Now, this experience happened before the one of Saturn, just want to mention that. This was many years prior. So I followed this vibration, and I saw these ships all on the fields, and these ships were just descending, these, little mini micro scout ships. And they were coming, all over the world, all these ships. And the feeling that I got was, it was like in that moment, it was like Starseed really. Can you still hear me, James?
Yes, I was just I was pulling up some notes here.
Something happened on my phone. An update popped up on my phone.
Okay.
That's never happened during a
All right.
video. So
So do you want me to go ahead and ask you my questions about Saturn, or you want
yeah.
to?
Sorry, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So John Whitberg states that he was on Titan, so that's a moon of Saturn, and on Titan they have a magnetosphere where the Germans discovered it, and all they did was just turn it back on, and this magnetosphere would protect the environment, so that way there's what did he say, like 1 million people there, a German city, so very likely these biodomes can be ancient, is what I'm trying to get to. So now I looked at my notes, and it was actually the planet Jupiter, not Saturn. So now we're told these planets are gas giants, right?
Mm.
So what actually is, they are a solid core. Now, in the case, I don't have the research on Saturn, but I can tell you about Jupiter. Jupiter has it. It is solid, and it's not a gas giant, although there is a lot of gases there. And the atmosphere of Jupiter used to be like a giant grassland planet. There was like this llama-like creature, and that was basically about it. So what happened is Jupiter became a testing ground for a variety of very extraterrestrials and planetary corporations to test their weapons, and they literally just blew up the environment. So it's extremely toxic. Even if you were in a astronaut suit on the
Mm.
surface of Jupiter, there's just a lot of negative energy. It just sucks your soul out. So there are facilities below ground that actually have like Starbucks, and you can take a jump room back and forth from Earth. So yeah, very likely, probably I would say it might go out to Saturn as well, Titan, and further out into the universe.
So, and this is Jupiter you were just talking about.
Correct, Jupiter.
Yeah. And how many moons does Jupiter have?
Oh, doesn't it have like 27? Does anybody know? Gosh, I should probably know that one.
Because
Jupiter.
yeah, because in that experience, they really
Uh,
wanted me to know that there was exactly 7 moons. Because they knew I'd make that connection because they knew I probably would Google it. But yeah, 7 moons, and it just like Google just said Saturn. So yeah, I don't know.
92. It has 92 moons.
Oh wow,
There's a lot to
wow.
explore out there. Once we get access to our space travel, we're going to be busy for quite a few centuries here. So, okay.
Mm.
Let's see here. So, I guess we went over that. Do you want to go over any other missions that you've had? Anything else you want to share? Or
Yeah, just
are you
so I've
are you
said that.
good? Are you good if your energy levels for a little bit longer?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the latest missions is we was on in Africa and saving the children and blowing up the tunnels there. So I've had a few missions like that where we've been, to save the children. It's like it looks like a special ops type mission, and kind of the uniform's different. We're kind of like wearing all black, very padded black, some kind of uniform, and again we've got these weapons, and one of them was I remember was on our planet, and this was actually in the daytime in one of the cities. I don't know which city, but in this mission we had to be very very quick, and we was in this building, and we're not in it, sorry, we was outside this building, and the only way to look like to describe it, it kind of looked like a it's a very old building, like a cathedral type building or a museum. It was, that kind of, looking. And we was at the side, and there was like these alleyways. I don't know if that's what you call them over there, alleyways. And there was this massive bin, and we pushed the bin to the side, and then there was like this little door. We managed to get open this door. It was all locked. So some of my team members, they went inside, and then I was with the remaining crew, if you like, members outside, and we was there waiting for the ones inside, bringing these children through. And I remember me leaning in, grabbing, holding on to these children and pulling them out, and a lot of them, they just look very the trauma was just unreal. They look very dirty looking, covered in soot. Some of them hardly wearing any clothes, and it's always the eyes. It's the trauma in the eyes. They're like that. It's like they don't even blink. It's like they're not there. The trauma. Anyway, and yeah, we saved them. So a lot of missions like that I do. And then the latest one that I had was apparently I was at Elon Musk's ex headquarters. So wow, I have connected with Putin in the past, but that's another story. So yeah, I have come into contact with people like that. But anyway, Elon Musk. So I didn't realise straight away. All I remember was I was in this building, and it was at least 8 stories high. I remember I was inside in the centre of it, and I could see the balconies. Sorry, there was like 8 balconies, and then there was like in the middle there was like this elevator, and there was a lot of like architectural pieces, or what do you call them? Like these statues of some kind, very space vibe, very sci-fi and high tech, and a lot of it was white. It was like the walls were white, the balconies, the stairs, it was just very white, and a lot of fluorescent lighting in there. Anyway, I venture up to the levels. I didn't manage to get to all of them, but as I was going up the levels, I noticed on each level they were all different. So, for instance, on one level, it would be like the chill out lounge. It was like the communal area. Another level, there'd be a gym. Another level, there would be, like computers. All computers, everyone's all there, at the computers doing whatever they're doing. Another level, this was interesting, it looked like a school. It was a school, and there were classes, and it kind of gave me that vibe of like being in a college or a university of some kind. It kind of reminded me of that. So on each level, there was something different. And anyway, when I got to the level on the classroom area, I remember someone coming out and pulling me, saying, "Hey, class is going to start in 2 minutes." And I knew in that moment, in that experience, that I was undercover. I wasn't meant to go to class. So I don't know, I guess in that mission, I had to the inside job, if you like, I had to kind of sign up, and so because there was in the area, in that place, there was like the recruitment area. So I believe I was kind of like at that stage where, they were basically saying, this is your role, this is your job, this is what this entails, this is your area, this is, what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. That was the impression I got. But anyway, like I say, in that moment, I knew I was not really meant to do that. I was on mission because I had a sense that I knew, again, it's almost that same feeling going back to what I described when I was a kid, when I was looking in my mum's drawers and I found that cassette tape. It was almost like that again. I knew I was there to find either someone or information or something, and I knew I was kind of spying, but I had to kind of blend in at the same time, so kind of like spying, kind of undercover type thing. And then to the next scene, I'm then outside of this building, but I'm at the back. And I remember there was these rows of like houses, small houses that kind of look like, like your motel rooms that you have, like very small, fancy new build motel looking houses. And they went all the way round. And in the middle of that, there was a large swimming pool. And so again, I wasn't hanging around long enough in any area. I knew I had to be on the move, but just taking everything in. And then when I looked to my right, I saw a wall, and to the left and the right of the wall, there were steps, and they kind of took you up onto like a platform area. So I went up the steps and I was on the platform area, and I saw these security men, and it looked like they were standing, 2 of them standing in front of like this desk area. And I knew behind that there was like a room, and I knew that I needed to be in there to get something or do something. Anyway, one of the security men looked at me very suspiciously, and I went, "Oh, I just need to go to the toilet because kind of next to that, there were like these communal public toilet type things. And he looks at me and he just said, no, no one's using them, in a very weird way, even though I could see people coming and going, and I just knew, oh crap, he's onto me type thing. So I turned around, I went back down the stairs, and I was at the other side of the wall, and I remember, excuse my French, saying to myself, shit, they're onto me. Fuck. The amount of times I've done that in experiences, it's funny, but it's not. And so anyway, as I get past the wall, I'm just acting casually. I'm walking up the other side, and then I'm walking. And as I'm walking out of the side of my peripheral, I not only hear the radio go, the walkie-talkie, whatever you want to call it, I just feel this security guy's eyes on me, and I knew I was in trouble. And I knew then that I needed to get out of that building ASAP. So as I was venturing off to walk towards the exit, this woman comes running up out of nowhere, pushing people either side, and she grabs my hand, and then she kind of leans in, and says in my ear, she knows. And that was cue to say, okay, well, whatever we were there for, clearly I wasn't alone. It's done. Now it's time to go. So we left. And then after that experience, I spoke to my friend, and she said, oh, I had the strangest dream last night. I said, did you? She says, what was it? She says, I was remote viewing Elon Musk. She was either remote viewing, or she was, the astral op. She was astral opping, which is what I do as well. So I believe she was probably in the astral, looking. She was in the room with Elon. I says, what did you see? She says, I says, well, first of all, did he know you was in there? She says, no. And that's when we figured, oh, she was either obviously remote viewing or astral spying. She said he was at his laptop, and he was basically doing something. She couldn't exactly quite understand, or at least remember exactly what he was doing. She could only remember, his feelings and expressions and emotions and stuff. Apparently, he was doing something, and all of a sudden, he was like almost like he had just accomplished something huge, and he was just like, yes, like he was super excited. Anyway, so I said to my friend, I said, we were both there. And I realized this because after that experience, I went on Google and I typed in, X headquarters. I have no idea. I'm not an American. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it's like inside. I have no idea. So anyway, I should have included some screenshots really, but I've shared it on my channel. So I was really surprised after reading about his headquarters. Everything that I saw in that place is everything he has. He has the gym, he has a school, he has houses there for his employees, as well as he works there. He has his own little home there as well. He's kind of working there because it's easier for him. He has a swimming pool. He had everything that I described in that experience. So that's when I realized me and my friend were on the exact same mission. I just see exactly that. Oh yeah, and it's exactly 8 stories high as well. So it's interesting that I remembered that. And if you get a broader view on it, see that middle bit there where it sticks up.
Twitter. Okay.
Yeah, but that middle bit, the highest peak in the middle, that was the central bit that I was studying, because I remember the elevator and high ceilings, and then I was seeing the balconies of the different stories. So I realized, holy crap!
The inside.
Yeah,
that's all. Here's I guess this will be the balcony area, or it's on rooftop. Okay.
So, but anyway, so this article, James, it said he was done in 2022, and he was saying he was talking about, it looks exactly like what I saw. Wow.
Very
apparently,
nice.
Apparently he's moving his headquarters. I don't know if he's already moved, because like I say, these articles are in 2022, we're now 2025. But I just remember seeing a lot of, it was amazing. It was like everything all under one roof. Exactly what I saw. So like I say, I'm repeating myself. I'm sure you're the same, James. With friends, people that we know in the physical, we've had missions with, and oftentimes there could be groups of us. One of us can remember the mission, 2 of us can remember, sometimes all 3. Now, there was actually a third person that was there on that mission, unfortunately, she don't remember. But 2 out of 3, not bad, remembered. And I did a video about that in more detail. My friend, the third person, was there. She got the cards out and she did a reading to get more information. Why was we there? What were we doing? What were we looking for? Which group were we a part of? So again, it's quite long, but that's in my video on my channel if anyone wants to check that out. So yeah, when you have these experiences, and then not only your friends are having the same experiences, or you Google this information, it's just validation. It's just like, you can't make this up. And I've never seen these pictures before. Why would I want to know anything about Elon? I'm not even an American. I don't know anything about I didn't know about his headquarters. I didn't even know it was called X headquarters. I had no idea, James. So, good old Google helps me connect some dots sometimes. So, yeah. So
I'm going to find out the session notes for just the remote viewing session that I had with Deborah back in the day. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Okay, Oh, here it is. I did find it. Okay, give me a moment, guys. All right, so I start off at the Mount Vernon, George Washington's estate, and I see the front, and I go inside. There's like a black and white checkerboard floor. On the right, there was like this green room with these double doors, and then I see, it looks like maybe Washington's there and Thomas Jefferson, and I thought Benjamin Franklin was there, but I don't know if he's ever been there. And they were looking out the front door, because the front of the Mount Vernon estate overlooks fields. I mean, he used to own like 5,000 acres, so there were slaves in the fields operating, and they were discussing about trying to whether or not they should have freed the slaves, because they had regrets. And, Washington went on his death, freed all his, well, they went to the wife, Martha, right? And then Martha freed all the slaves, but she until she died, when she died. But yeah, so they decided not to do it because the British encroachment into the on the East Coast, they were kidnapping Americans and recruiting them into their Navy. So they had a serious problem. We didn't even have a Navy back then. It was like we were teetering on another invasion, and we did get invaded by Britain again. For shame, Zoe, in 1812, and they burned down the Washington, the National Archives, and the White House. But anyway, that's long history. But yeah, so remote viewing is a very powerful tool, and it can help us get access to our memories. So I believe there is some legitimacy to it, because we can confirm it. But okay, enough of me blabbering. So let me ask you: do you have anything else you would like to share? Any other remote viewing sessions? How about any underground dumbs you've been to? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just looking at my my notes, because I've got different things.
Okay, and so I also want to go ahead.
Sorry, I've got one experience. I mean, it depends on how much time you've got, because it is. I can kind of narrow it down.
Yeah, we got about another 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, that should be fine then. So, okay, so I might talk fast, not because I'm manic, guys. It's just because it helps me. I don't know, it sounds weird, but when I talk fast, I'm able to access my memories quicker. When I talk slow, I feel like a computer, and I'm like, I'm lagging. So that's why I talk fast sometimes. As well as ADHD, of course. But yeah, anyway, so last year I started, because my YouTube channel, I only started sharing my experiences exactly a year ago. So this was a year ago. I was uploading my information, stories. It felt like in one day, it was just uploading one experience after the next, after the next, after the next, on TikTok, on YouTube. Anyway, my higher self was saying, Zoe, you need to slow down. It's way too fast. But my ego was just like, I need to get it out, because I was just so pissed at these guys for taking me and doing what they were doing for me. It was kind of like I was rebelling a bit. I was like, no, this information is coming out. So all day, all night, even early hours in the morning, I was just, putting this information out there. Anyway, I ignored my intuition, and then that night I went to bed. And I just want to quickly mention, which will make sense towards the end. It was a new TikTok channel, and I think I got a lot of attention because of, obviously, of course, what I was posting. And I think I got like over 1,000 followers in like a couple of weeks. It really wasn't very long, and it'll make sense when I to tell you at the end. So yeah, I went to bed, and then again, the moment I closed my eyes, I was then all of a sudden still in bed, and I felt the room spin. It felt like the room was spinning. And not only was it spinning, and don't laugh at me, but it was like this noise. It was going as it was picking up speed and momentum. And it was getting so fast that I could feel myself being pulled from the bed. So I remember grabbing onto the posts of the bed because this force, this suction, whatever it was trying to pull me out of the bed. It did. And the next thing was, I was then stood at the end of my bed, except for I wasn't. I was in bed as well. So I realised then, oh, okay, against my will, again, they've pulled me out. They've pulled my astral body out of my physical body. And I panicked because I actually thought I died. And I remember jumping on my physical body, and I was just in a deep sleep. But I was convinced that I at moments I thought I weren't breathing. I was freaking out. I remember trying to slap myself, like shake myself. Zoe, wake up, wake up. And then I got up and I looked at my body again, and I genuinely believed I'd died. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I was like, oh my God, my daughter can't see me like this. So then as I'm walking into the hallway to go to my daughter's room, immediately I am sucked and I'm pulled. And now I'm standing deep underground on a different planet. And the reason why I know it's a different planet is because when you've been taken that many times off different planets, it has its it's a completely different feel, isn't it? Feel to Earth, the gravitational, the gravity, sorry, the energy is just different. So I believe this was off planet, very deep underground. And the only way to explain it was this: I was in. It was like the walls were made out of. It looked like an orange or like an orange or yellow rock, and it wasn't smooth. It was like some machine had gone in there and really like drilled into this area, and it was just like this huge hollowed out area, and it was just very round in shape, very round, very high ceilings, and there were lots of fluorescent lights. Anyway, so I'm looking around and I'm seeing loads of sleepers, is what I call them, loads of souls there, or not necessarily souls, people in the astral form, but they looked physical. I just want to mention as well, I wasn't like in astral at that point. I don't know what they did, but I was solid, very solid. Everything was real. And people were walking around of different ages, all in their nightwear, kind of like they were in a trance, kind of like they were zombies. And they were just kind of like this, just walking around, the head straight, very slowly pacing up and down this room. And I was surprised that I was as conscious as I was, very conscious, because I remembered every single detail of that experience, which was deliberate, which I'll get into. And then I noticed, as I'm looking around, there were a mixture of human and reptilian soldiers wearing khaki, military gear, standing against the wall, holding these kind of like laser beam type weapons. And one of the soldiers came up behind me, and he basically said I needed to follow him. So I followed him right to the other end of the room, and there was like this little wall, and to the right of this wall there was like an opening, and I walked around, and then there was like this desk, and there was a human-looking being sat on the one side of the desk, but I knew instantly he was not human, he was reptilian. Anyway, so I'm ordered to sit down, and this being looks at me, and then he speaks to me telepathically, and he says, "You know why you're here, don't you?" It's almost like he was saying, "Don't give me the BS, kid. We've seen your face enough times. We've taken you enough times. Don't mess around. You know why you're here." So I couldn't even lie because I knew. And I just basically looked at him and I went, yeah. And then he kind of gave me that look as if to say, you've got some balls, kid. You know, like, who do you think you are? And then he started glitching, and it was almost like his hologram, if you like, was like shifting, and he was glitching between human looking to reptilian, and then his eyes were shifting. And I remember, I don't know why, because I've seen them ever since I was a kid, you know, I just kind of put my eyes down and I was just like, oh, I always do that when they first shift. And then I looked up at him, and then he just went fully fledged, his true reptilian form. And then he leaned in and he said, you've got 24 hours. He says, when you get back, he says, when you wake up, he says, you've got 24 hours to remove, to delete every experience that you have put on your media platform channels, every single one of them. He says, if you don't, he says, your life and your daughter's life will be in jeopardy. So I was like, oh, shit. So it's interesting, isn't it? My higher self tried to tell me, you know, you need to slow down. I went against it. So always listen to your intuition or your higher self. Anyway, so the same guy, soldier that took me to the table came back. He basically pulled me up. He said, follow me. And I followed him back out. And then as I was walking back down the same way I came, I noticed to the left of me, there was a small soldier. And he was reptilian. I believe he was one of the very low-ranking reptilians, because a lot of them are slaves to their own kind. Not many people know this. And not all of them are bad. A lot of them, again, are in situations where if you don't do your job, if you don't do what we say, then, you know, we'll kill your families. And a lot of the time they do, right in front of their very eyes. So it's all very fear-based. And this reptilian, he was very small, very dainty compared to these other ones. I remember he connected to me telepathically and he said, I'm so sorry. And he'd got this sadness in his eyes. And they're not usually affectionate, but it almost felt like he felt bad for me. And it was all, I felt like I wanted to give him a hug. It was so weird. Anyway, the guy in front of me said enough, pulled me. And then we get to the other end. And then I looked to my left and there is a huge, huge window. And as I look through the window, you can see another area of this place we were in. And in that area, there were about 4, 5, maybe 6 white desks. And at these desks, there were either a reptilian or a human looking soldier, if you like, sat on one side of the desk. And on the other side, there was one of the people that were in the room that I spoke about. And so I was told to go in there, ordered to sit down again, and the guy said to me, he was reptilian, this one, but he was in human form. I don't know why. I have to get a drink. Excuse me, 1 minute.
You're doing good, Joy. Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know why he was in his human form. I don't know why they choose to be in either or that or the other, because it's blatantly obvious there's reptilians there. But anyway, he basically looks at me and he says to me, he says, I want you to put your hand down on the table. I think it was my right. I think it might have been my right or left, or either one. I've only got 2 hands. And I said, no. He said, I'm not going to tell you again. He says, put your hand on the table. And I'm pretty sure he said it was, palm down. I said no. And then all of a sudden I felt this, the only way to explain it, it was like a force. It was like a magnet. I pulled my hand and, and my hand just went smack on the table and I couldn't move it. There was this energy. And then at the side of me, there was like this little, it looked like a little gun. This weird shaped gun device thing, except for it wasn't a gun. It was just kind of shaped like that. He picked it up and he basically implanted something very small at the side of my, I'm pretty sure it was my ring finger. Either that or the middle one, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was the ring one. And it was a very sharp, quick insert of whatever he put in there. And I could see it, and it looked like the shape of a grain of rice, but a lot smaller. I could see it. And then after he did that, he got up and he came up to me and he basically grabbed me by my cheeks and he said, open up. I says, no. He says, open up. I was like, no. and he just squeezing my cheek. And I remember as he was doing that, I could hear someone in the room screaming. And as I looked in front of me, there was a woman who was going through exactly what I'd just gone through. And I watched this reptilian open up her mouth, and he put something down the back of her throat, which I just want to quickly say, I believe it was an implant to mess with our throat chakras to prevent us from speaking our truth, because I had an experience with that where I had something removed prior to that experience, which makes me wonder why they perhaps put another one in. So anyway, she was screaming. It was, by the looks of what this woman was going through, it was very painful. So I freaked out, and he was squeezing me. He was like, open. I was like, no. So I was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? So then all of a sudden, in my mind, I put out an SOS to the Galactic Federation. And I said, I need your help now. I am in danger. I need someone to come quickly. And then it felt like seconds. Within seconds, I felt this huge draft come up behind me. And everyone turned. I turned. And where there was a wall, there is now, I guess it was kind of like a portal, but it was like a wall. And then there was this opening. Something opened. And I could see the other side of that wall. There was another area, but stood now, then in that area was three beings, very tall, humanoid looking beings. I didn't recognize these beings. These were actually different. They actually look very Native American tribal looking, very fascinating. They've got, they're very tall, very slender, a lot of prominent bone structure, very slender. And they were holding, again, these type laser, type weapons. And they'd got like a bluish tone to their skin. They either had blue eyes or grey eyes. They weren't Octarians, because I know when I share this, people are like, oh, was it the Octarians? And it wasn't the Octarians. And they've got jet black long hair in braids, tied, and they've got like these little trinkets, little beads and things, in their hair, really fascinating. And they didn't have much clothing, but the clothing they did have, they had like wraps on their arm. It almost looked like suede or leather, and there were like these tassels and beads, and again, on their legs. And then on the bottom half, it looked like a piece of material, looked a little bit like a lopsided skirt of the same material. And that was it. That was all they was wearing. They started shooting these reptilians and the military, and they were just proper shooting. And then two of them walked towards these reptilians. These reptilians were very scared of whoever these were, because they were just like, they fled. And then the one being came up to me and he said, did they implant you? I said, yes. He looked down at my hands, so which kind of gave me the understanding that they've done this before. They're very familiar with these types of implants. He picked up the device, put it in my finger, pulled out the implant, and then he looked at me. He says, did they put anything down your throat? And I says, no. And this was all, again, telepathy. And then he looked to the area that they came in, and he said, it basically pointed, and he says, you need to go through there. And it was all very, very quick. All this unfolded very quickly. So I get up off the seat. I'm kind of like, oh, all this is going on, very overwhelming. I go through the area that they came in, and I went and I stood at the bottom of the area where he pointed. And it was very dark. And I just remember looking down, and there was that, again, it looked like sand, the same material as the walls. They were like kind of like rocks, very rockery, and there was this sand material on the steps. And I looked back at the being, and he just continued pointing, and I was like, I don't know what to do here, But anyway, I just trusted him, and I ran up this rockery. And as I ran, my foot slipped, and I landed on my knees. And so then my hands immediately, I remember feeling this sand material in my hand. And in that moment, I remember saying to myself, Zoe, you must remember, Zoe, you must remember, Zoe, you must remember. And 3 times I said that. I get up to the top, and again, I'm feeling that same, I'm hearing that pulse, that pulsating noise, the same one that took me out of bed, and I'm feeling this energy. So immediately I was quite fearful. I was like, oh no, this is the same energy that took me out of bed. So I was a little bit reluctant to kind of, go into that energy. But anyway, it was pulling me. I remember holding on to the wall, and my midsection was being pulled because I was resisting. In the end, I was just like, just got to trust just trust and just let go. And I did that. And then this energy pulled me, and it was like I was in this vortex, this tunnel. And I just remember like floating. I was a bit scared at first. And then I actually settled into it. And then actually I felt it felt very relaxing and very comforting. And I just trusted. I knew where I was going to go. It was going to be safe. And then I wake up in a bed, except for not in my bed. I wake up in this bed, and there's these children at the bottom of the bed, and they're giggling, and they're like, she's awake, she's awake, she's awake. And I'm like, expected to be awake in my bed. And I'm like, where the heck am I now? Like, where am I? And I'm looking, there's these children. And so I get up, I follow these children down this hallway, and then I enter this room, and this room looked like a kitchen. It looked like a kitchen, but what was very strange was there was a chair, and there was a table, and there was like a sink and a cooker. All that looked physical, but on the outside, it looked holographic. And I looked to the left of me on this table. There was that woman, the one that I saw when she was having that thing put in her throat. She was there, and there was also a man there. He was just basically slumped over the table, and he was an absolute wreck. I remember he was shaking his foot, like proper shaking his foot. He was just, his eyes were just the trauma. He just was not, he just wasn't with it. He wasn't there. And the woman was crying, and she says, "Oh, I saw you." I says, "Yes, I saw you as well." So I guess we all woke up the same way in a bed, and I'm assuming she and him probably came round before me, hence why they were there at the table before, waiting for me to wake up. And she just basically, she says, "Yeah." She said, "Did they do that thing with your neck?" I said, "No." She says, "Oh God, you're lucky." She says, "That was horrible. I never want to go through that again." And bless her, she was shaking. And then all of a sudden, I feel a presence come up behind me. And as I look, I see this woman. She's very tall, very slender, blonde hair, blue eyes, and she's wearing like human clothes. But I knew immediately she was a Palladian woman. So I believe they set up this room to make it look familiar to these people, because they'd just been through enough trauma, and they needed to, obviously, before they sent them back home, they needed to, check them through, check over them, make sure everything's okay, give them, I guess, healing of some kind. And but the woman knew me because we exchanged glances, and we had that smile, and it was like we knew each other. And I knew that it was a fake kitchen. It was she pretending to be human. It was so, so funny. Anyway, and then I turned to her and I says, "Well, what now? Why am I here? What's happening now?" And then I went, "Oh my God, my daughter." And she went, "Don't worry." She says, "Your daughter's fine. She's in bed." She says, "And we've got someone there right now watching over her." And she says, "And when you come back down," she says, she'll wake up." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And then she says basically that I will be on the ship. This is the way she said it. I don't understand why she said it like this, but she basically said that I was going to be on the ship 3 days out of the 7. She never explained why. At least I don't have any memory. So why would she? Because I remember saying, "Well, how is that going to work? How can I be on the ship and at home at the same time?" She says, "Don't worry about that." She says, "Just know, you're going to be with us 3 days out of the 7. I don't have any memories, but I do believe that they had took me for whatever reason. I don't know. Anyway, so then when I did wake up, I immediately, my eyes were like ping. I remember I sat right up, bolt in bed, and I just remembered everything. And I picked up my phone and I voice recorded every information. And that's probably one of the clearest experiences that I've had, memory wise. And so anyway, and I remember them saying, "You've got 24 hours to erase your stuff," because they do use voice to school technology. They've spoken to me and threatened me that way as well. So I remember I was sitting in bed and I was freaking out. And I was so gutted that I had to delete everything, but I knew that threat was serious. So I did that. I went on TikTok, I went on YouTube, and I deleted everything purely out of fear. And but of course I'm back again sharing my experiences. And they do threaten me, but they still need me. That's the impression I've got. They can't kill me because they need me. if they need all these altars and everything else to exist and carry out doing what it is I'm doing. So I think a lot of it, I know they are capable and they can and they do take us out very often. And then perhaps they could, but I hope it doesn't come to that. But now when I'm sharing my experiences, I kind of listen to my intuition. I listen to, when's the right time, how much should I share, and kind of just really listen to myself. So anyway, the day or that morning, my TikTok was shadow banned, and I went from having hundreds of followers a day to now, even still to this day, I'm lucky if I get, and this is not exaggerating, I'm lucky if I get 2 new followers a month. And my videos, my views went from getting thousands to, I'm lucky if the most I probably get 38 views. So again, more validation. My YouTube channel is shadow banned as well. I've got hooks and tentacles and, and I guess fake subscribers as well, because that's another way they keep tabs on us. So yeah, that was quite a big experience with the threats that I had.
Wow, that's crazy. So
I
yeah.
know.
So what about your other platforms? Are you still get some growth on them? I know you got your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I had to promote a video, which is not a problem. I promoted a video, and that's basically what's how to get my subscribers. Before that, I was stuck at 484 subscribers. Like I say, this YouTube channel, I only started it a year ago. I just, trying to promote, self-promote, trying to get my story out there, and not had much luck. I've been on other channels, obviously, and now yours. So I promoted a video, "Why Are Starseeds Lonely?" because that was the one video that really got the most views and interaction. And on that one promoted video, I gained 6,500 subscribers from that one video. So, that's kind of what's happening at the minute. So yeah, I'm able to, but before that, like I say, I know of course you struggle anyway when you've got a small channel because you're not pushed into the algorithm and stuff like that. But, I was doing well up to that point, then TikTok, and then YouTube and Facebook. Facebook's the worst, just completely shadow banned.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you. So here on YouTube, I used to be growing to thousands a month, and now it's only about, well, it used to be like 30 people.
mm,
So yeah, but over on Rumble, it's not as bad. But yeah, so what's the point of having a good message if people can't hear it, right? So that's the whole thing about this shadow banning. Maybe we can, maybe, or Zoe, you could reach out to the Federation and say, hey, let's insert some of your AI into our AIs, and let's make this anyway. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
all right.
definitely.
Well, I pulled up some notes here. It's all kind of scattered. I should have edited this, but what I did is, so I'm getting abducted almost every day. Yesterday I showed my bloodshot eye, and then I get needle marks, and I have scoop marks. I have a scoop mark in my nose.
Yeah,
Get another
wow.
one. So what I did is remote viewing. I traced down the head of the Galactic Federation Super Soldier Squad meeting. So his name is Gary. So he's actually an American in charge of this particular squad.
The name of my dad, that's my dad's name, Gary. Interesting.
All right. So in this meeting, let me just pull some notes up here. We have the atmosphere is casual. The person in charge introduced himself as the head honcho, is Gary. He greets us saying he's been waiting for us to come and talk to him. We know who you are. He explains that we are a catalyst connecting our clones, or helping them connect to these clone facilities, the souls that are trapped in these programs. The goal is to shut everything down, retrieve lost fragments of our souls, and destroy these facilities once and for all. As he speaks, the whole room erupts into applause. There are 18 people in the room, and we're aboard some kind of ship. They're genuinely happy to see us. Others are present on the ship as well, part of a larger puzzle that connects missing links between Earth and off-world operations. When asked how they know who we are, they reveal they have always been watching us. They track
Mm,
our lineage and clans, even from different planets and the surrogate, like I said, Project Surrogate, fragmented throughout the reincarnation cycle, and as our consciousness has been recycled repeatedly, placed into new bodies over and over. Now they say they can finally help us. In the past, they couldn't intervene because they needed a direct connection with us on Earth. The timing had to be right, and they couldn't dismantle the system for just a few individuals. But now an event is approaching, one that will bring down these programs once and for all. Let's see, I've got some more here. Oh my gosh, let's see here. So we give them the coordinates of this facility that I was being taken to. Let's see here. Says they're going to. They're aware of the suffering that's taking place. They're saying, please be patient. They're engaged to shut down these facilities. There are groups and other groups in the alliance that are assisting as well. Their soldiers are called this particular group is called the Space Federation. Have you heard of that term, Space Federation? Yeah.
Not that term, no. Of course, secret space program. Of course, I've heard of that. But the Space Federation, no, I haven't. No.
So let's see here. How many super soldiers are there? Let's see. I don't know. My notes are kind of. I think this is how many people they have. I don't know. Thousands. Let's see here. Let's go on here. We ask, in the future, everything is more white and clean. The memories are coming back. The world is better. We're getting healed. The world is being healed. Mother Earth is a higher vibration. Things turned by trauma comes to surface. That doesn't bother us as much. Mm-hmm. We get some abilities back, more physically free. We can move around better, stronger. We have a telepathic connection with other people. Telepathic. There are med beds, so no such thing as the C word and getting old. You can exit your physical body if you want to. Let's see here. I have to skip this because we're not allowed to talk about this. Okay. So let's see here. So yeah, this is called the Space Federation Group. He says, thank you for your work and your patience. It's difficult on Earth, and we are working as quickly as we can. So there you go.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just remembered as well, just quickly. And this is the Galactic. This is the Galactic Federation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The Galactic.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I mean. It all makes sense. And so, yeah, we definitely are heading in the right direction. And it just triggered another experience I just had last week. One of my missions was, it's only a short one. I've shared it on my channel, but basically I was one of the people on the ship, and we was escorting the elites off the planet on the ship. So wherever we must have done a deal with them of some kind to get them off. I think they just kind of like, yeah, what the heck, nothing we can do, or something. I just felt like there was a deal made, and I was there escorting them off the planet. I don't know where we were going, like I say, but wherever they were going, they were super exhilarated. They were so excited. They were celebrating. And I saw the Hiltons there. So certain, like the Hiltons and some other high elite families were on these ships.
Well, that's like, Conrad Hilton family. So now they are just the front for the cabal. So that money really belongs to the cabal. But we could even argue that money was stolen assets from the Pacers, but we can just keep going back and back and back. Ultimately, I think it belongs to all people.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that was the latest thing. So that was a good sign, that, there we are. We knew that they were going to exit the planet through many ways, or hide in their £1 million bunkers because they think they can hide away from this ascension. But a lot of them, are leaving, literally physically being taken off the planet. So yeah, it's really good. It's good. Means we're heading in the right direction. So.
Thank you. Well, here's a question from Tanya. Now, Tanya, if you were asking some good questions yesterday, I wouldn't have to ban you. But so, who's in charge of choosing who becomes a secret space program veteran or experiencer? I guess you could put it another way. Like how is James chosen by who and what criteria? What do you think about that, Zoe?
Why we're chosen the secret space program? I think it boils down to our abilities, our unique abilities, our gifts, our experiences. I hate to use the word gifts. Ignore that a bit. But it's our skills and our abilities. I know I've been in these programs since World War II. I'm just in a different body. So that's as long as they've been using me. So you think, all the other times that I've been in these programs, a lot of us have a certain set of skills that are required to, do certain missions and tasks. They don't my impression is they don't just pick anyone. They'll pick those that have abilities that are easier to train, and or if you've gone through trauma as well, and they can create alters, it just makes their job that much easier. I know a lot of people in the programs, if they haven't been through any kind of abuse at home, then they're taken and they're being abused, aren't they, at these facilities. But they like to kind of, get the abuse and trauma to happen, really, if they can, from home, to start from home, because I know it makes their life a little bit easier, and then they can easily, create these alters. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot more complex than that. But I don't know. What do you feel, James?
I think experiencers are ascended angels, or beings like that have abilities that a typical normal human soul would not have. Just because, imagine taking one soul and splitting it 3 billion times and putting it. So that's one soul. That's basically what's in most humans, right? So it's not like that they don't have a soul. It's just they have a little tiny bit of fragment, and their energy body is within themselves, and they literally cannot sense anything outside themselves. So when we try to explain stuff about secret space program or something, they're just not in their field of perception. They can't comprehend it. Where super soldiers, their energy body can encompass the whole planet or even whole galaxies, probably. I'd say. Well, anyway.
Yeah, because we're not better. I always say this: we're not better. We're not superior. That's one thing I always remind people. We are equal. We're just, some of us are more experienced than others, and we're all extraterrestrial. We're all, from the stars. But it's just some of us have had more experiences. We're just more experienced. So they're going to want to go for those that are more experienced, those that are more able to easily tap into their abilities, because they haven't got time to, like I say, it's just easier for them, isn't it, to work with when they've got a foundation, they've got a base. It's easier for them. And of course, we all have abilities, every one of us, but it's just we're able to access them, or we're more evolved, with those experiences.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just looked at the clock. I didn't realize we're over time, but I'm going to ask one more question, Zoe. So your name looks very close to SOE. Do you think you were SOE in your past life? The Special Operations Executive in World War II, the spy agency.
Yeah, wow. Well, I never knew that. The SOE, I never knew that. Which is so weird, because that's how I used to write my name as a kid.
Yeah,
SOE, not a Z.
you're SOE. Yeah.
Yeah, it was SOE. That's how I used to do my name. So that's interesting.
Let's
And
explore that. Yeah.
yeah, and but anyway, that wouldn't surprise me, because of the type of missions I do now, in the groups that I'm in. Obviously I was a World War II soldier as well. I believe, again, I was doing those kind of missions as well. So, yeah. And it's interesting, my nan actually chose my name, and my nan was definitely in the program. And and there's a definite deep soul connection with me and my nan. But yes, no, she put my name in a hat. She was adamant my name was going to be Zoe. My mum was like, no, she's a boy. I'm having a boy. I'm going to name it Carl. And then my nan picked the name out of the hat, Zoe. And then, as it turns out, I am a girl. I probably have a lot of masculine energy, so my mum probably perceived me thought I was going to be a boy, but I'm a girl. But no, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Zoe, yeah.
All right. So, final message.
Yeah, just basically, I hate to say this sometimes, it annoys me sometimes, because, my message is just trust the plan. And I have that on my YouTube channel, and it rubs people up the wrong way, especially when they're seeing the state of the world. On the surface, it looks like chaos. It is chaos. But the trust the plan message is just to remind you all that no matter how dark we get, or how dark this planet becomes, just know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and there is light here. There are positive groups, alliances here, dismantling and restructuring new ways. There's new energies hitting this planet, and like anything, anything that doesn't serve us, whether that's on a personal level, or on a physical collective level, whatever doesn't serve us, whatever's outdated, whatever harms us, has to crash, it has to dismantle, and before anything new can be set in place, so before we can start really seeing some good positive things which are happening under the surface, but before we start seeing it actually, on the foundation, and seeing it and actually be like, oh wow, okay, there are some good things happening on this planet. Until we see that, again, we have to go through the dark night of the soul. We have to go through the crumbling of everything that is low vibrational, anything that is harmful to us. So things are going to look a little bit messy. We are going to be going through some more events in the future. I'd like to say we're already at the tipping point, but my belief and understanding is we're not even close to the tipping point yet. Things are going to escalate a lot more. There's going to be a lot more catastrophic, and I say that catastrophic. There's going to be, and that's not to create fear. I'm very realistic. I'm not going to paint things up, just decorate things with pretty bows and rainbows. I'm real, and there's going to be some things, some catastrophic things to unfold, which is hardly surprising on what's happened already with what we've experienced, all of us as a collective, what we're seeing, what's unfolding right now. There's that calm before the storm. Do you feel it? We always feel that calm before the storm. Again, it's not to create fear. As I say, however darkness needs to be taken down, it can look like many ways. And a lot of us have to get our hands dirty. We have to get, really into that darkness to really pull it down, including the Galactic Federation. They're not sitting there humming and sitting in circles and going, kumbaya, and all that. They're physically fighting, and we're here, we're everywhere. And like I say, it's just a lot of unraveling to do. But whilst we're seeing all this stuff unfold around us, we are going to be experiencing some good positive things as well. So there will be balance. That's what's happening. We're kind of bringing that balance. But anyway, I'm rambling on because that's what I do. But just always just the plan. Even if you've got no faith, just always know that the good always comes out on top. Always. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Zoe. So everybody, please click the link in the description and subscribe over at her channel. She's got some great content with some remote viewing, and she's even doing her own interviews now. So maybe we can get something set up on the flip side over there for me, but we'll talk about that later. So also, Zoe, you could go to Neological Tech, buy a copy of my book. It's 400 pages plus.
Yeah, I will do.
Full information about my labs and some of my experiences and different.
I can't wait. Yeah, I was going to say earlier when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, you've got a book. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Definitely.
Yes, and then you're going to get yourself a meditation device. I do have some of these in stock right now. So you put these on your lap. They have pyramids on the inside, which produce chi. I put orgone materials and layers of different metals. So like the monastery would have platinum, gold, and silver, but this one just has copper. But so go check this out. This enhances your chi energy, helps you get into a deeper state of relaxation, helps remove trauma from your body. Through relaxing yourself. So also go to Healing Soul Survivors and make a donation. No function. Well, Sam, because PayPal, I had about like, what was it, $2,200 in that account. Somebody charged back the donation, and then they literally shut down all my PayPal accounts and stole a bunch of money. So I still have a personal PayPal account. You can use that, but I don't recommend it. I just go to go to healingsoulsurvivors.org and click on the Give Butter link and make a donation. So there's low fees with Give Butter. Also, I am not going to the Quantum Summit after all. This is Mel. He would not comp me any tickets, so he wanted me to come down there. And anyway, the point is, so I'm not recommending people go. Unfortunately, I hate to do it anyway. But I am going to go to the event in Los Angeles, April 4th to the 6th. So if you want to purchase a ticket to that event and support Saeed, by all means, click on the link in the description, and also purchase a link to my conference coming up in October of this year. So Zoe, let's see if we can get you to come to my event. But that's going to be in Orlando, Florida. So check that out. Right now, the prices are early bird, so they are going to be going up in price. And yeah, I think that probably covers it. So like, subscribe, and do all the things you'd like to do. And go over to Rumble, subscribe over there. And we'll see you all later. Everybody, I'm going to play a little LifeWave promo here. So LifeWave patches can help increase energy, and they can also help take that trauma out of your body. So I personally use LifeWave, and I wouldn't be recommending it if I didn't like it. So everybody, just stay tuned. It's just a little short clip, and we will see you all later. Bye, Zoe.
Bye, James. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And bye, audience members. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something really exciting, the LifeWave X39 patch. To help us understand how this works, we have LifeWave brand partner Arthur Gross here. Thanks for joining us, Arthur.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm excited to talk about this revolutionary technology.
So, I've been hearing a lot about this X39 patch. Can you explain a little bit more on how it works?
Absolutely. The X39 patch is groundbreaking because it uses phototherapy, specifically photobiomodulation, to activate your body's natural GHK copper peptide levels. This, in turn, reactivates your stem cells, which helps reset over 4,000 genes to how they worked when you were younger. Think back to your 20s.
Wow, all that just from wearing an X39 patch.
Exactly. The patch uses a patented, non-invasive nanocrystal technology that reflects specific wavelengths of light from your body's infrared light. When it touches your skin, it stimulates biochemical changes that trigger the production of peptides and amino acids. This increases mitochondrial energy, boosts healthy stem cell activity, and helps with overall cellular repair.
Wow, that sounds incredible. But a lot of people might be wondering how safe they are.
The X39 patch is completely safe. It's been clinically proven and is recognized by the FDA as a general wellness product. Plus, it's non-transdermal and non-invasive, meaning nothing actually enters your body, and there are no chemicals involved.
Wow, so we have no topical creams, injections, or anything like that.
Exactly. It's as easy as wearing a small patch, and it's also waterproof and showerproof, so you can wear it throughout the day without worry.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I've read a lot about various expensive stem cell therapies. How would the X39 compare to some of these other type of options?
Traditional stem cell therapies can cost thousands of dollars, but the X39 patch offers a much more affordable solution. It's designed to work naturally with your body and is available at a fraction of the cost while still being 96% effective on activating your body's stem cells.
I can see why so many people are excited about this. So, if someone is interested in trying the X39 patch, what can they expect from wearing the patch?
Most people notice an increase in energy, faster recovery from physical activities, and even improvements in overall health and wellness. It really helps to revitalize your body by supporting stem cell production and resetting your genes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Where can people learn more and try the X39 patch?
If they click the link below the description, it'll take you to James Rink's LifeWave website, which helps you get started. It's such an easy and effective way to tap into your body's natural healing abilities. If you have any questions, please send us an email at liveyounger.jmr@gmail.com.
Wow, thank you, author, for shedding light on this amazing technology. The X39 patch sounds like a must-try for anyone looking to feel more youthful and energized.
My pleasure, James. It's definitely worth exploring.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.